Truly engage with the future with Futurist and innovation strategist Adam Jorlan. Adam is also the leader of the Enkel Collective, which provides events and workshops for people who want to engage at a deeper level with the future and how it can change Western Australia. Adam tells of how he became a futurist, how it is more of a calling than a career choice, and provides insight into the actual work and the typical clients he works with. Adam eloquently provides some simple models relating to human learning that provides a greater context for the deeper understanding of how we deal with change and therefore the future. He also talks about the barriers and frustrations that he sees individuals have in interacting and engaging with the future. What becomes clear from this conversation is the cyclical, non-linear journey of growth and learning that underpins the human journey, and how that growth will accelerate faster when we become more accepting of this truth and act in line with it. Adam is a wonderfully deep-thinking man who is content to sow the seeds of change that may well only truly blossom after his own time has passed, which is the highest level of service. So enjoy, Adam. Hello and welcome back to WA Real. I'm your host, Bryn. The future and innovation strategy are just some of the areas we'll be exploring today with my guest, Adam Jorlan. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, you're not originally from Western Australia, Sweden. How did you end up here?
Good question. I think I was actually thinking about that yesterday. I think there's most people who come, like me, from Europe end up here for two reasons. Either they work in the sort of resource sector, oil, mining, gas, or they come here for love.
It's so true. Because I ask this question at the start of all of my podcasts. Yeah. And more often than not, there's a boy or there's a girl that's been involved. Yeah. And you are which one of the two?
I met a girl in London.
Right.
15 years ago now.
Yeah.
And we moved down here eventually, which many people do, I think.
Where is she from? Here?
She's from here, yeah. She's from Perth.
Yeah.
So we were in Melbourne first for 6 years, because sort of the step from London to Perth is quite long. So, Melbourne is a good first step, I think.
Oh, what, in terms of activity and things
yeah,
going
in terms
on?
of, so like, Perth was so different for me.
Yeah.
And, so we came down here in 2006, did like a sort of research trip, went to Sydney, Perth and Melbourne, and I liked Melbourne the most, because it was probably, it's most similar to London. And then we had kids, and then, you want to be close to family, so we ended up here in 2014. So I've been here for 5 years now.
It seems to be children and family are, again, one of those key things
that
pulls people to Western Australia.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up in Sweden, what did you know about Western Australia?
I was interested in sailing, so I was a sailing instructor. I knew Fremantle very well from, was part of that Whitbread around the world race, and the sort of, it was always, I read books about that, and they always said Frio is so great because it's a party, and it's relaxing, you just hang out. It's a big sailing place, so I was always interested in Frio. I didn't know much about Perth or anything.
Yeah.
So it's Frio, yeah. And I sort of, I had that, I always wanted to come and see what it's like because of that reason. Then I wasn't, I sort of left that interest behind sailing. So, but it's still now when I walk around here, I sort of say, oh yeah, I remember that from my youth. The boats and the America's Cup and all that. So,
yeah. And so is WA your home now?
Yeah, one of the homes.
One of the homes.
Yeah, and I like that Steinbeck quote. I think it was him who said, "I have many homes. Many of them I don't know." Or something like that,
I like that.
So I think I feel that as well. I'm going to Sicily next week. I've been there once before. I feel that might be one of my future homes.
Oh,
yeah,
that'd be nice. Yeah. So, as I said in the introduction, you have a strong focus on the future and innovation. Where does that come from in Adam's journey? Is that something that was role modelled when you were younger, or is it something that just sort of switched on for you personally in time?
I think it's switched on more because, you know, most people in my field working with the future, they were very into science fiction when they were kids. That's sort of one of the sort of general themes if you look at Futurist or, you know. But I was never into science fiction. I was really into stories and fiction, but never into the future back then. What I was interested in, so why I got into futures is more that I'm very curious about everything. And one of the disciplines where you can study everything is futures.
Yeah.
So that's why I got into it. You know, in high school you study everything, philosophy and maths and, you know, biology, everything. And I love that.
And the further you go, the more specialist you have.
Yeah, you have to, but I didn't want to. So in uni, it's like, I don't want to specialize.
Yeah, I just want to keep studying.
So I did a mix between engineering and, you know, business. So that was at least two various fields. So industrial engineering, it's called. But it's a lot of business management. But I didn't like that, so I was going a lot. What I did most of that time was going to the cinema and watching like old films and going through the film history. And then I did, you know, I was always so broad in my thinking. And then I found this field, which is a transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary field called future studies or strategic foresight. Right. And I was like, yes, that's great. I can write, you know, I can write about anything and pull from any resource, like we often say, or my old supervisor said, from the Big Bang to Bitcoin or whatever.
Big Bang to Bitcoin.
or another B, whatever it was. You know, so everything, no matter what, you know, traditions, can be spirituality or, you know, sort of pure science or psychology, education, everything you can use in future studies. So yeah.
Sounds like the back catalogue of WA Real.
Yeah.
So where did you first find out about it?
I was in Melbourne. I moved, so I
what were you doing before?
When I finished my engineering studies in when was that, 98, I didn't want to be an engineer, probably because of this reason that I don't want to specialize in anything. I wasn't particularly interested in engineering. So but I finished the degree, didn't know what to do, was interested in a lot of things. So one of the things I was interested in was snowboarding. So me and my friend, we were like, how can we didn't want to be engineers.
Yeah.
We wanted to snowboard. So we were like, how can we make a living from that? We weren't that good. We couldn't be pro snowboarders. So we thought, like, why don't we start a business in the Alps? So we went a lot to the French Alps. We looked at other people. They started the bar. They started something, you know.
Yeah.
But we thought, why don't we start a language school? Because we'd been to language schools in France ourselves. Because there's a government support for Swedish people who want to study abroad. So we'd both done this. So like, why don't we start a language school in a French ski resort? Because there's nothing there, and all Swedish people, they want to study French and ski.
Yeah.
But most on offer was like, you know, Paris or the big cities. So we started to look into that. We didn't think it was going to work because we were like, there must be some sort of stuff that prevents that from happening. Because otherwise, someone would have done it ages ago. Because it's such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Get
it's often exactly that thought.
Yeah, and we were like, we better keep quiet about this. Yeah. Otherwise, someone else is going to do it like that. I think that's I'm an entrepreneur as well. That's sort of my second, you know, big draw, like futurist and entrepreneur. I always call myself entrepreneurial futurist or futurist, like futuristic entrepreneur or something like that. But I think that's an entrepreneurial thing. Like you're a bit scared that someone's going to steal your idea. And then you realize how hard it is and why people haven't done it after a couple of years. But we actually managed to do that. So we set up a French language school in a place called Chamonix in the French Alps. Which we ran for 7-8 years or something.
Wow.
And then I met Jen, my partner, and we moved on. So that was my background, really.
Yeah.
But then I sold that business, or we sold that business, moved down here on the other side of the planet from my friends, family, everything. Had sold my business, didn't have anything, so it was like a blank slate. So I started to, read again, or go back to. So I hadn't done any theoretical. I hadn't read any non-fiction or anything for years. I've just been snowboarding and working on this business and going to gigs and
Living the
films
life.
and living the life. I was living both in France. I was working at the school, but also living in London at the same time. So, really good life, dream life, but not quite a shallow life. So when I left that life, I was like, naturally sought more deep
It gets
things.
to a point where all the fun just goes away one day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I had 3 or 4 years of, be it working summer and springtime in motorsports event management, fast cars, attractive ladies, doing promotions, and then in the winter I travelled to South America. I lived in Maribel in the Alps for quite some time, and it was great. And then all of a sudden, it's not so fun anymore.
No,
I couldn't put my finger on it at the time.
No, because you sort of reach that. You reach your goal, I guess. I had that goal, like to have that sort of life. I had apartments I had an apartment in London, one in France, and dream life. And all my friends were like, "Oh, fantastic!" But then you reach, and I think that's also me. I never can. I struggle to settle down. That curiosity. Always want to do something new, and you get bored. I always get bored, which is not good in many ways.
When you're alive.
Yeah. So
how did you find out about future studies then?
So then I came down. So that all my reading, I was really interested in psychology and philosophy and those things because I had never studied that before. So I was sort of like, wow, this is cool. Then eventually I found through that, I don't really know why. I went to a lecture by a guy called Richard Hames, who's an amazing futurist. I was like, I have to look into this. What is that? Because it's not, it's been a field for since the 60s, like an academic field.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask. How long is the...
Yeah, I mean, future studies sort of starts with science fiction about 100 years ago. H.G. Wells.
Yeah.
And those early science fiction writers, so there's been science fiction for a long time, but they started to come up with these concepts about the future, think deeper about the future. But then around the 50s, 60s, people it became a discipline with people wrote papers and books more seriously. It's sort of it's quite similar to philosophy, but it's in other ways it's not, because you can draw from so many disciplines. So I just discovered this in Melbourne. There's and weirdly enough, one of the best schools for futures or institutions for future studies is in Melbourne. So it's sort of this serendipity. Now in hindsight, it's like, wow, that's maybe why we ended up
to that point.
It's so obvious. And then I signed up for that. Worked part-time at the Red Cross at the time and did those studies for a couple of 3 years, a master's in future studies.
So what does a futurist actually do?
That's this.
How do you marry that up to putting bread on the table for the kids?
That's really hard actually. I mean, that's also, futurist is nothing you choose because you want to make money or get a job. It's just a passion. I think it's something that you sort of, it seems like most futurists I know, that they just become futurists even if they don't want to.
Yeah.
And we struggle a lot in the community to define what it is and sell ourselves and package it. And there are only a few basically who are successful and real futurists that have studied futures. There are a lot of futurists that call themselves futurists, that go out and do presentations. This is what the future is going to be like.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But if you study futures, one of the first things you learn is that you don't say what it's going to be like. You more ask questions to your clients and your audience, what they think it's going to be like.
Yes.
Because no one knows the future. That's one of the first things you learn. If someone says, this is what it's going to be like, I'm like, oh, that's not a real futurist.
Yeah.
So
one of the options.
That's exactly. So we work with several futures. We work with first possible futures. What are the possible futures? Then we work with probable futures. So what's probably going to happen? So probably we're going to have more self-driving cars.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Maybe not. And the first one is our preferred futures.
Yes.
So what do our organization want to see? That's basically leading into strategy then. So you start with possible, really broad, and then probable, and then preferred.
Yes.
You focus on one that you wanna happen.
How do you bring in the unknown into that? Because there's always things that we can't see.
Yeah, outside of that spectrum, you obviously have
Yeah.
a lot of other futures, and often they happen that we can't even imagine. So in our mind, there's sort of, the blind spots we have.
Yeah.
There are so many other futures that
Yeah.
we don't even see as possible today.
Yeah.
So that's where science fiction people, they're probably the best people operating in that area. They are imagining more than normal people can do.
Yes.
On that sort of limit of what is possible. And they say, like, one of the things we say in future studies also is that the most valuable futures in our work is preposterous futures.
Yes.
Stuff that you think this can possibly not happen, because they often happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's all about it's a science, but it's also an art.
Yes.
Future studies. So the
see.
art part is imagination, fiction, stories. So scenarios is one of the most common tools we use. So scenarios are stories of the futures.
Yeah.
So when I do scenario work, people think, but this is what we're gonna work against in a scenario. No, a scenario is just a story that we use. We can work towards it, but we can also work away from it if it's a negative scenario.
Yes.
So I often build 3-4 scenarios for clients. Some of them are sort of,
Present
might be
risks
good.
and
Yeah,
some
and then you sort of
opportunities.
look back from that. If this story of this future is going to happen, what have we done? What are the steps
Yeah.
to reach that? And if this happens, what have we? What do we have to stay away from or steer clear of for this not to happen? So yeah, so that's.
So who are your sort of typical sort of clients, and what sort of work do you do with?
Now here in Perth, I work with local and state government, most
Right.
schools. Yeah, so no corporate, because most corporates here they have their own, like the big mining companies. They have their own in-house futurists.
Yes.
Doing scenarios for them.
So corporate's more taking this on now.
Yeah, they've always done. I think Rio Tinto and BHP and those guys. They've had. Shell is one of the biggest. Like many of them, the top futurists that I've read from the 70s and onwards. They worked for Shell. So Shell's scenario department is one of the sort of most successful futures in practice that have worked. Yes. So they sort of predicted the oil crisis in the 70s and things that no one else did.
Yes.
Or they were prepared for it because that was one of the scenarios.
Yeah.
So when that happened, they knew what to do. Yeah. So, but here, government. It's interesting. Government here they're quite interested in futures. So, state. I've done work for state government and even local councils. Some councillors and some mayors, CEOs are interested in it. Some not. So, I mean, here in Freya, they're very progressive and interested in the future, for example. So,
Yes. I'll ask you a bit more about who is interested and who isn't, and the things about that. So when a client engages you, what is the sort of typical work that you would?
So for me, I call myself an innovation strategist, which is easier to sell than saying I'm a futurist. People are like, what is a futurist? But if I say innovation is very popular now.
Yeah.
It
almost feels a little bit more tangible.
Yeah, and it's almost like a bit too much now, I think. But like sustainability was 10 years ago. Everyone was a sustainability consultant. Maybe not here, but yeah. And now it's sort of innovation. So I've sold myself as an innovation strategist / strategic foresight practitioner. So I sort of get in through that. So I can work as the minister has said we have to innovate, for example. That's actually happened in some government I've worked with, and yeah, so then I have to bring it in through that, and then we're gonna do an exercise where we're gonna look at scenarios, because will feed into our innovation strategy. And so then I don't say that it's a Futurist tool, but it is. So,
it is. Yeah. So you would sort of draw up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scenarios, and then what the sort of leadership of the organisation would step through, how they would react, respond, and either mitigate risks or seize the opportunities within the scenario.
Yeah. Unfortunately, often it's not the leadership in government working with this. It's more teams, like on the outside of the organization, like the innovation team, or that we work with, which is not a bad idea, because in one way it is, because if the CEO, when I work with a CEO, it's easier to get stuff happening.
Yes.
If you work with a small team or are interested in the future, they're more passionate often, but it takes longer. It's a different way to embed it in an organization, more like a stealth approach, as we talk about. So
So this was a question I alluded to earlier. How do you go about, and what do you observe when you talk and interact with people, and their sort of grasp or their desire to want to grasp different opportunities and potentials with the future? So I have a 15-year experience of being a management consultant, and there were at least 3 pieces of work that I could think of where they were so far out of the horizon of everybody in the organisation. Most of the time people were asking me, what the fuck are you doing? One of them was, 2 of them were here in Chevron in Perth, and because everybody was so focused on completing Gorgon, my work was for the organisation that was going to run Gorgon when it happened. One was mapping out the entirety of the process, mapping the entirety of the Gorgon operation space. I mean, the end product was bigger than this whiteboard.
Yeah.
But it made total sense. And then the other part was operationalising that into an integrated planning facility. Now, both of those I could see the absolute crystal clarity importance of those 2 pieces of work, and the third piece that was from an earlier part of my career. But people could sort of open the window slightly as they were humouring me to engage what was happening, but that window would close really quickly, and it was back to the day job, back to the comfort of what they're doing, back to the familiarity. It was like all that. I sort of get what Bryn's doing, but I don't really see the whole point of it. Occasionally I'd bump into enlightened little souls who would go, whoa, this is great. But often they didn't hold the bigger positions that could, in effect, change.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really was curious about talking to you about today is just how do you go about, I don't want to use the word getting, but I'm going to use it, getting people to interact with the future without them suddenly seeing something different, getting a case of anxiety, and then running back to the comfort of what they know.
Yeah, that's the problem. And I think that's why many of these organizations will struggle to survive. I mean, if you see the successful organizations today, it's, the Silicon Valley. They're, the people there, they are big picture thinkers. Like they are almost like, they are science fiction writers, almost like Google and all of them, Steve Jobs and all the people who they were futurists basically, and they hire similar-minded people. So I think, I think it's going to be hard, because organizations that don't have that pull, that will pull in that sort of people, they will struggle. Yeah. So sometimes I despair. It's like, this is, like you said, this is not going to happen. They're not going to. Yeah. They're just going to. I do a couple of workshops for them. They love it. They open their mind. So we often talk about systems thinking. We're talking about you looking at systems rather than parts of the system.
Yes.
Which most people are focused on. The day-to-day job
Instead
is a small
cogs,
part.
It's looking at the whole car.
Yeah. So you have to. I mean, for me, I naturally think in systems and big. I struggle with the details, actually.
Yeah.
And most people are the opposite.
Yes.
They tend to focus on the detail. So, yeah, where was I?
How do you get?
Yeah, so how do you get them to? So I mean, all my tools I use are basically for that. So I'm bringing them in, I take them up a level.
Yes.
You know, to see
Chunk
the
up.
ecosystem. Or this, you know, I can do stakeholder mapping, or I can do maps on whiteboards. It's excellent, so they can see and let them map themselves. Yeah. So how are you related to this guy over there, and how are you guys related to these guys in China, or blah blah blah. Instead, yeah. So there are a lot of tools I use for that, but when I come back later, I see, you know, they're doing the same thing because there are no structures. There's no time, there's no space for them to continue that when I'm gone or we are gone, you know, our team. So that's a sad thing. So then I think, damn, you know, they're not gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
For a
yeah,
minute,
we're open and then
clunk.
So yeah, so when I'm in those organizations, especially government, because government is set up for this not to happen. I mean, you know, you have a little role. Most organizations, hierarchical organizations, they are to put people in boxes. They are to sort of, you know, there's no room for people. They don't want creativity or big picture thinking. Even if they say, now these days they say, we need innovation, we need creativity. But then you have to rearrange your whole structure often. So like Google and those companies, they've had that built in because they started like, 15 years ago.
Yes.
They never built a hierarchical organization in the same sense. So, you know, they have one of their first early cool programs was the 20% time. I don't know if you heard about that.
No.
Engineers, they could spend 20% of their time on their own projects.
Yes.
So on, you know, on every Friday or whatever, you work on your own little thing. So many of the services or products that we see today, like Gmail and that stuff, came from their own things
20%.
they work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, that's a completely different way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
So you don't say, hey, you're going to do this project now from top down. You just like, hey, do whatever you want on Friday. And then we'll see something. Yeah, and they didn't even control it. So like, it's going to cost more to control them than, you know, just let them do whatever they want. And heaps of things came out of that. So it's, and there's a newish, I mean, it's been around for a while, but now there's a name for it called teal organizations, which is a new management theory where you sort of distribute leadership more and let people do things they want to do, and which has its challenges. So the organization I work for, we haven't spoken about that, Enkel.
I was going to ask you in a minute.
Yeah, we've always had that. Like we've always said from scratch, we're going to be a distributed organization with no leaders, which is tough.
Yes.
Because again, people, we come from school, from work, everything, there is always a leader.
And this is, the more I started to think about this coming into the interview, into this conversation, the more I was like, far out, this is quite a challenge, because you're getting human beings trying to interact with the future, and human beings that are working within a big machine of an organisation, which doesn't necessarily always want, particularly when you're talking about government, doesn't want creativity, just wants to repetitively churn out and do the same thing, and, you know, treats its clients us the same way. So you've got this enormous structure that provides predictability.
Yeah.
And then that provides the people who work in it predictability, and with the predictability comes the paycheck and the safety and the comfort. And it's like, there you go. But then there's a certain and then it instills a certain amount of human behaviour there. You know, the neuro pathways are all well beaten in, and you're just firing. And then it gets to the place where, and I've had this in a place that I worked not quite recently, where I had to point out to the leader of the organisation, the CEO, he's like, well, can't they just work this out for themselves? And I sort of said, well, no, you have to look at your recruitment policy, because you have in effect recruited a bunch of Indians, and so you got to be the chief. Otherwise, the Indians are going to sit around going, what shall I do?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so right, even at your recruitment policy end, who are you bringing in and what are you encouraging? And you know, to me, it's almost like, because I sit and talk to, you know, all sorts of people through the podcast, and you know, I sit and listen to all different types of human journeys and human experiences, and they all, many of the people that come here come to this sort of awakening that, like I did, holy crap, the scripts that have been handed to me don't necessarily work, or it doesn't map out like they said. Holy shit, like I got to go and do this for myself, and that can be confronting. And some people go, "Oh shit, don't like that. I'm going to go back." And some go, "No, persevere. I'm going to go forwards." So you're almost interacting with like the entire human experience in your work at the same time. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, it's more about like, yeah, whenever we do things in our workshops, it always comes down to that in the end, like humans. We often look at metaphor. I work a lot with metaphor as well for organizations. And we often come down, if we look deeper, to sort of what is it to be human? Because especially now with technology, there's so much talk about robots and artificial intelligence, and people are scared about that. And we have to differentiate, like, what is it that makes us human that they can't do in work? And you know, it's like man versus robot, and those metaphors come up. So it is, yeah. And I think also that stuff happens so quickly. You know, with exponential technology, it goes so faster and faster and faster. So it's an organization that's, like you say, hierarchical, structured. It's working less and less well. So, and people are getting, you know, it's more about the human and your interest, your creativity. We know that. We have to capture that. So it is, it's getting more like organizational development and management stuff goes way more into people and humans, and you know, their own, what do you want to do, you know, what are you good at, what's your purpose in life.
And that's scary shit for some people. I've never had to think about it, because it's just been going to work and execute. So that's another thing, back to your question about how to open up people for that sort of thinking. You got to reach them on that sort of, like, what do you really, what's your passion, what do you really like to do? But that's hard, because they just, you know, if you go to a workshop at work, like a professional development workshop or something, you expect to, you know, learn Excel or a new, you know, system or something. Functional, tangible.
It's not about finding your purpose. And but I think that's, you know, organizations that do that, you know, they will thrive. They can capture the whole human, the whole employee, rather than just, you know, a small part of them. A small part that they themselves might be keeping away. I've always like thought, you know, if people want to go to work on Monday morning, then you've succeeded. You know what I mean? For you as a boss, and that's bloody hard today. Actually, turn up. You want 100% turn up. Not just, and like, not be like, oh, you know, I don't want to go. Just be present. Like you do in the weekend. You go because you want to do it, but you often go to work because you don't want to do it, and that's probably quite a new thing for. I mean, not for slaves and stuff, but in, you know, before we organized, I mean, people probably didn't, you know, they wanted to do stuff on a Monday morning. They wanted to, you know, harvest or, you know, whatever they did back then, or go hunting or something in the village era. Well, it was a lot clearer, wasn't it, as well, in terms of whether you did or you didn't. If you didn't, your stuff. You had skin in the game as well. You had skin in the game, so you were committed. Here it's like, if I don't turn up, if I'm sick, nothing's going to happen, you know. Exactly. And then even at the worst end of it all is this government infrastructure that will catch me at some point if I fall. Which is good, but I mean, there's also, you know, it's also bad things with safety nets like that. I mean, as an it's risk. Entrepreneurs are risk takers. I guess if you see the crazy entrepreneurs, they sort of mortgage the whole, like Elon Musk and those guys, you know, mortgage everything they have because they believe in the idea. and yeah. So they go back to that. Like they thrive when they have skin in the game.
Yes.
Yeah. They will probably have to have skin in the game to be able to work, even to do a proper job.
It's probably an amazing piece of self-management. It's a bit like the story of, was it the ancient chief that turned up on the island and burnt the boats and showed the soldiers, and the only way we're getting off the island is if we win and beat them and kill them and take their boats, because we don't have boats anymore.
No, that's right.
You know, or we're in the sea being slayed.
Yeah.
So So tell me about Enkel.
Yeah, so when I moved down here in 2014, I'd been involved in a lot of sort of social innovation, co-working. These are new things that were around back then in Melbourne and in Europe as well. I was very interested in that. Spaces for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are solo people, but they need a community as well. So this whole co-working phenomenon started back 10 years ago now. So I was really interested in that, because I was, if you don't work for a company, you're lonely, as you know, being a consultant or a freelancer. So there was one co-working space here in Perth, Space Cubed.
Yeah,
and
we've met Brody before.
Yeah, Brody. That was one of the few people I knew here actually in that field, Brody.
Yeah.
So I started hanging out down there, but it wasn't really what I needed. I needed something more, focused on the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Focused on what I did and making things better. So we started this collective. We started with Meta, so we met every month, and we did a call out like, who is interested in exploring new possibilities for WA? That was our slogan, new possibilities for WA. We didn't say like explicitly that it was like post mining or something like that. I think Brody works a lot with that, Space Cube. New ways of, new industries, tech, innovation. But we were like
hub for it.
We were more like all over the,
Yeah.
So we looked at the future of food systems in WA, future of education, future of how we make things. So we had like learning, making, working, and eating and drinking. That were the four fields. So we ran a lot of events around that for a couple of years. So basically attracted people here in Perth who were interested in the future and better ways of doing things, not like socially just, sustainable, and that's sort of what we're still doing, I think. So so we're having a big conference coming up in October, which is about the new economy, for example. And we have a big space here in Frio we're opening up now, which is about prototyping the future. Or a living lab for the new economy.
A living lab.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Living lab is originally a research concept where you get together with industry, academics, to do like experiments in real life. So it can be we have a few of them here in Freo, like the White Gum Valley new project, which is the housing project, where they have academics looking at things. They have different companies installing new technologies and testing it live with real people. So it's a lab that's real, basically a living lab. Yeah. So that's what Enkel is about, I guess. Not on that sort of level, but more if you have an idea, come down there, try it. You will meet a lot of people who are interested in innovators. Yeah.
People who want to get involved and test and play. And
people who are thinking like, so we attract a lot of these big systems thinkers and who see, we can't do this anymore. We have to come up with something new. And often when you speak to your friend or family, they don't, like you say, most people don't think like this. So people who come to us, they have sort of, they have a need for these conversations.
Yes.
Both bigger conversations, but also deeper conversations.
Yes.
Like we talked about before. What is it to be human? What is my purpose? That you can't do at work or with at the barbecue. It's a shallow surface conversations, but how do we meet people and discuss on a deeper level? How do we have these more challenging conversations about, now we're in a climate collapse, basically, and most people don't want to talk about it, but we do.
Yeah.
In Enkel, we do. It's not if you want to, one of our members, he's set up a meetup now every month that people talk about, how are we going to deal with living in a, how are we going to adapt to the climate collapse we're in. So, yeah, I like those conversations, but most people don't. So, yeah. So I think that's why we started Enkel.
Are you finding more and more people are starting to...
Yeah, they are, like if you look, here it's coming, of course, but you look in the UK, in London, the Extinction Rebellion, and how many people from different backgrounds came to that. It's not only like the green hippies or whatever, demonstrators, anarchists, everyone came down, because it's real.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen here as well. Now when the kids are protesting, it's not political anymore. It's more people. So someone said, I don't remember, like it's not left versus right anymore. It's people who care versus people who don't care.
Yeah, it can't be
these
asked.
days. It doesn't matter. Like the kids, they don't care about politics.
No,
they're not. They can't even vote. They just want to survive.
Yeah. It's interesting. People ask me, "Oh, are you on the left or the right?" And it's like, I don't know.
No, same here.
I don't care.
No, I don't care either.
I think you'll find I go extreme one way, extreme the other, all at the same time.
Yeah, no, I don't care what. It's not about that anymore, is it? It's like... Yeah.
Do you get much interaction with the government?
How do you mean? In...
Politicians. People who actually shape policies.
On a local level, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not on state. But I think the work we've done I guess with Free, and I know most of the councillors here, and I don't know. I know they sort of follow a bit what we do, many of them.
Yeah.
So maybe that's shaping a bit. So my work, or Enkel's work, is changing how people think, and that's what I do as a futurist as well. It's not. I'm not going to start a big program which is going to help people. That's that's other social enterprises and government who do that. For us, it's more about inviting them to an event, challenging people's mind, provoke them, give them new options. What's happening in Melbourne? What's happening in Europe? Why can't we do that here? Which then hopefully will lead into strategy for non-profits or policy. Policy making. So we're sparking ideas. It's all about new possibilities again for WA. Not that we do it, so we're not sort of creating change. We're always saying we're creating change makers.
Yes.
So we're not doing anything ourselves, but we're supporting, inspiring, helping people to meet others. More on So
are you? As I listen to you, like even starting this work would be almost like pushing that big boulder and it's just moving a little bit.
Yeah.
But we all know what happens to the boulder after a period of time.
Yeah.
It gathers momentum.
Yeah.
Are you starting to see some of the green shoots of your efforts?
Sometimes
through the change makers that you're provoking.
Yeah, it's stories often like, after I went to that, I did this. Or I met this person and we started this. That's when I see, I've actually made a difference. But then you see like the election and stuff now recently, we're still stuck in the 50s. So we don't have that, it's still that boulder, it's like, but you see small wins the whole time. But I've come to that realization, I'm a bit, what do you call it? Not middle-aged. But that it doesn't matter anymore. Like, I don't care about if I will change anything or not.
Yes.
Because it's like that guy who built Central Park or designed Central Park. He knew that he wasn't going to ever visit Central Park because it's going to take so long to build it, and he knew he was going to die before. So he does it for the future generations, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we have to. That's how I see now. I do it for my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff I do, I'm probably not going to see any result. If I do, it's small stories that I hear. You know, we're not going to have all the stuff I see in Amsterdam or San Francisco in many years, like the cool things with bikes and clean energy. That's going to take a while. So yeah, I have to do this as well. It's quite good. Like I know that I can't do anything else. I've found what I have to do.
There is no going back.
No, like many of us find, if we're lucky, find what we're meant to do in our life. And I've pretty much found a path, at least. You know, sometimes I'm off that path. It's like, nah, that wasn't right. But I know I'm on the right path in general. I'll look back as well, like, aha, that's where I did that. That makes sense. That led me to meet that person, or blah blah blah.
Things start to fly.
Yeah, but I don't like most people probably feel like, this is not what I meant to do, and they don't have time or resources or energy to actually find that out.
Yes,
because they're stuck in the, you know, whatever you want to call it, mortgage.
Well, if you go back to it, stuck in that safe, comfortable, position. Yeah, but even like I'm lucky to be able to do all these things. Most people, but it's again, you're like, why do you take on a big mortgage? I mean, that's just what we do. Yeah. But the consequences of doing that are really serious in terms of your freedom. Yes. Because then you sort of, you have to pull in money every month, and you know what I mean. It's like I don't think people realize what it means to take on a mortgage. And again, that comes back to, and I certainly don't want to come across as some sort of freaking, like the finger wagging mum that says, which is so, but it's spending that small amount of time of thinking through just a few of the potential implications of your actions at this point in time. The house looks great, and we would live awesome in it, but it comes with a mortgage, which will need to be serviced, and that service will take 15 to 20 years, which means I'm going to have to produce at that level to maintain that, if indeed we're going to spend that amount of time here. So that means I'm going to have to find something that produces at that level. Now, can I marry that up with something that provides me meaning and this and all the stuff, or am I just going to go here and do the thing in the corporate environment which ticks the box and gets me there? But then that in and of itself has a trade-off. Is it going to light my fire, or is it going to leave me dead inside?
Yeah, I think, those, universal basic income and that stuff is, that's quite like getting more and more mainstream, and that could help a bit with that dilemma, I think. But it's not ideal, but I think we're heading that way, at least, because more and more people are looking for their purpose and what they're meant to do. That's not going to go away.
No, if anything, it's turning up more and more and more.
Yeah. And also with automation and those things, we like see, people are but people are so scared of it. But we can also turn it around and say, like, great, the robots are taking our jobs. Now we can do whatever we want. Yes. We don't think like that. Yes. We think like, oh shit, it's gonna take my job. What am I gonna do between 9 and 5 every day? Help, Yeah. So, yeah. It depends. Yeah. It's interesting stuff.
Tell me about Theory U. What role does that play in?
Theory U, yes. It's one of the tools I use. It's not,
I thought I'd ask because I've heard a lot.
Yeah, so there's a big group here in Perth now. I think we in Enkel, we ran one of the first U labs, which they're called, back in 2015 or something. So it's for me, it's one theory that I use. I use heaps. Yes, and it's great for transformation, I think. So you can use it for. I can map my life through it. I can map everything I do basically. Oh yeah, that's.
Run me through the basic steps.
Oh, I'm not. So basically, start with. Now, if you're just going to summarize it, it's sort of going deeper. So often we work on a very shallow level in any sort of challenge, problem, transformation.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of throw away much of your beliefs and biases and things you have and go deeper on a problem, and then you have to go even deeper, and that's when it starts to get uncomfortable for yourself. But it's basically that we talked about how you have to have those deeper conversations with people, do the challenging things.
It takes time.
Yeah, which takes time. And then you reach this sort of bottom of the U, this sweet spot where stuff happens.
Yeah.
Which is really challenging, which, that's what we try to do in our workshops. And once you reach that, you know pretty much what you're going to do or what's next.
Yeah.
So then the next phase, you go up again the U, and that's a phase.
Rebuild beliefs.
Yeah, you start with rapid prototyping, because if you're in that, when you have an epiphany, for example, you know exactly what to do. So then you do it rapidly, and you get out of the U again. So it's sort of listen, reflect until you sort of find something deep within or in your team. It's like, now we reached it. Challenging to get there. But theory use this practice to reach that step, and then once you're there, you sort of do it quickly, and then you go up again. So it's sort of it's I work a lot with another change theory called 4 rooms of change, which is quite similar. It's like you're in contentment, you're happy, everything's fine. Next one is you basically go into denial. So everything was fine. Say you're married, then suddenly there's a problem. Someone pulls out the rug from under your feet. You go into denial. First you're like, nah, shit, can't happen. It's gonna be fine again. We're gonna get back together, me and my wife.
Things will sort itself out.
Yeah, things will sort itself out, and then you come to realization. Nah, this is over. Then you move into the 3rd room. So there's 4 rooms. The first, contentment, denial. The 3rd room is conflict, confusion. Then you're like, shit, what am I going to do? You're not in denial anymore. So now we're getting there in the climate change, if you look at that. Like we're heading from denial, many of us, into conflict, confusion, which is really uncomfortable. So there you go back to theory U, you're at the bottom of the U.
Yeah. And that's being okay with not being okay.
Yeah.
Which is again a theme I've heard a lot.
Yeah, it's hard. So then you reach sort of the bottom of the U, or the 0 point where everything's shit, and then hopefully you get out of it, and you find a hope down there, and then you go to the 4th room, which is renewal or inspiration. So that's a cyclical process as well. Then you go into contentment, denial, conflict, renewal. So many people think they can find happiness and always be content, but I don't believe in that. It's a cyclical thing. You're always gonna, if you have that approach as well to life, I think it's easier. It's a cycle, up and down, and so theory,
It's interesting listening to you, and again another reason why I was really keen to chat to you. I glanced across theory U and went, geez, that is part of the journey of quite a lot of my podcast guests. Sometimes they've either done it consciously, they're learning consciously, or they've got learnt by life. And then listening to those 4 rooms again, it strikes me that there's almost like a process to life.
Yeah.
And because we talk about the journey of life.
Yeah.
But I've come to the conclusion that there's a process to life, and how you experience it is your journey. But underneath, there is a process of going through those 4 rooms, going to the bottom.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You can try and cling on as much as you want to that place of denial, that room of denial, and people do, and they do, and they do, and they do, and they do. And then their journey into the conflict is just so much more painful. And these things peak up in life, particularly I've spotted between the ages sort of 35 and 42 is one. And then apparently the next one's around about 56.
Oh shit!
I'm 40. I'm 44, so I've got a little way. But I've also gathered that if you've done a lot of work in the 35 to 42 time, then 56 is a whole lot more straightforward. And that's looking at chunks of time from looking at sort of, Chinese sort of philosophy and things like that. But it's fascinating listening to you talk about people engaging with the future. Because I've long thought that there's a process, and that how we encounter the process is our journey.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you see it as, but if you understand those things, it's much easier. Then you can make sense of why did I feel so shit between 35 and whatever you said.
35 and 42.
Yeah, and then you can prepare for 56. Oh, maybe I should.
Yeah,
think.
You can almost get to the point you can look forward to it.
Yeah,
because you know out the back of that conflict is the
man.
renewal.
Yeah,
and we all know how cool the fucking renewal feels.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. I often see I go up and down a lot on smaller, not only the life.
Yeah,
but
lots of different levels.
Lots of different levels. So I see those periods when you feel like, oh shit, I don't want to do this, or this feels pointless. As a phase, you have to just see it as a phase of reflection. Just accept it. Now I'm meant to be in the room of conflict, confusion with myself, instead of seeing as a depression or a useless phase where you feel you're not worth anything, or you're not producing anything of value. See it as this is phase of reflection. There will be a phase of action when I get up the U again, or get into the fourth room of renewal.
Yes.
If you just can frame it like that, instead of up and down or sad and happy, just see it as action, reflection. Listen to your body, and I'm meant to not do anything now. And then I'm meant to do stuff whenever. And the longer you can sit in that's another psychological, the longer you can sit in the room of conflict, probably the better, like you say, the better the renewal. Yeah. Or the deeper you can go the you, the better the outcome of your,
You see it in, I saw it in people around me when I left my long time relationship 5-6 years ago. And I spent a lot of time just soaking it up, wallowing in the shame and guilt of the time. But out of the back, renewal's amazing. Yeah. At the same time, I saw similar people going through a similar thing. Monkey bar their way. You know how kids go across monkey bars. Yeah. Like quickly grab one bar after another another, straight into another relationship. And like, I'm not really sure you've fully embraced this.
No, and it'll come back to you. I've done the same thing. Like, go straight in to do something fun, to forget about it, but then it's haunting you. Yeah. Better just go through it. And I think many people live, they go through their life not going deep down, and they're like, it's, I guess it's okay.
But at some point,
but I'm not. That's not my life. I don't.
I have a feeling that if you don't go and do some deep diving, then life will start learning you. Yeah. And that's the passive use of the word learn.
Yeah, exactly.
So here we go. What would Western Australia look like if more of us started to engage with the future? Actively, responsibly, as an adult?
Well, I think that would be much more interesting. What worries me a lot is the concentration of ideas and creativity and resources in the old industry, like the old paradigm.
What you mean, the big tall buildings on the terrace?
Yeah, that's sort of,
which resource names on the
side. So we have an amazing, because of that paradigm or those industries, we have an amazing opportunity now to do something properly with it, like distribute it and do invest all this in other things, like cool things that are sustainable and socially just. It's just like, if people would get that, that would be sort of my hope for West Australia, if we sort of distribute what we have to people. And I'm not talking about like socially, like distributing money, equality. That's one thing, but also most of the creative people, they work for the old paradigm. You know what I mean? They come up with some ingenious solution to solve a little problem in a mining machine or whatever it might, to pull up more, or like doing something like that, when they could have done something that changed, lives for people and make it better in other ways. So paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Or like pulling more people from that old paradigm to the new, whatever it is, to the future. That's our work. Pulling people over, because we're not going to be able to change the system. Start building the new paradigm, getting as many people over.
Yeah. Clean
energy, like all the new things. More interesting work and creative. Yeah.
I'm getting a sense of Morpheus in the film Matrix.
Maybe, yeah.
So what have you learnt about yourself through this journey? From waking up, encountering this whole future study, and then going and doing your work and setting up the Enkel and the work that you do with councils and stuff. Through this whole journey, what have you learnt about yourself?
I think I was quite individualistic before. I work as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are quite my way or the highway. But now with Enkel especially, I've been turning into more like a community builder, working with others. That's my main learning. Like, how do you actually get? Yeah, how do from myself to a group? How do you do things together with others? That I've struggled with that before. I didn't have to, actually, because if you run your own business, you don't. We were two people doing most of the things, me and my colleague, and now we work with a lot of people, a lot of projects, and we're very different in Enkel. Our only commonality is that we're interested in the future, new possibilities. Yeah. But we have people from many different countries, engineers, artists, consultants, everything, lawyers. And it's tough, but that's what we have to do. I think that's a key also for human survival, to be able to work across political, opinions and countries. And most people we don't learn how to do that in school. Yeah, so I think that's one of the things I've learned most. And it's fucking frustrating often,
Yeah.
That idiot,
I was going to ask
just
you about
do
that.
what
And there's some days when you just bang your head against the wall and go, just fucking get it.
Collaboration is bloody hard.
Yeah.
Collaboration is so hard.
Yeah.
I think if we can't collaborate, we're fucked,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fragmented and so polarized today, everything, and people are pissed off on their Facebook, and they hate each other.
Yeah.
There's we need more collaboration platforms online, not just
a lot of venting, not a lot of doing.
Yeah. Imagine if there would be a button, instead of like or hate, you're just how can we collaborate? I'm interested in what you say. How can we come to it? How can we collaborate and come to a? Let's press that button instead.
How can we fix it?
Yeah.
Let's just play with some options. Let's open up to a world of possibilities.
Yeah. Let's press that button instead. Yeah, that would be so cool. I'm ready to get into it. Go deeper in the you with you.
Yeah.
You seem like a smart person. Let's not shout at each other. Let's go.
Yeah. We're obviously demonstrating a lot of passion on this.
Yeah. Yeah. And instead of just let that thread die out, as it does in Facebook, eventually it's now I'm attacking someone else.
I'm off to snipe at someone.
Let's use that tension and create something. Yeah, I think if they can do that, that's a good development of social media.
That'd be mega. Yeah. So, Futurist, what does the next 3 to 5 years look like for you?
Staying here, doing same as I've done. Looking forward to this new big project that I mentioned before, the big warehouse we had here in Freya, turning that into something.
Whereabouts in Fremantle is it?
It's just across the traffic bridge when you come from north to south, north into Freya. There's this big building with an octopus painted on it. Yeah,
is it that one?
Yeah, so that's the one.
Awesome.
So
you can't miss it.
Now we're doing cool things. Started with this zombie apocalypse with David Holmgren, the founder of permaculture.
Right.
In a couple of months.
What would happen if we had a zombie apocalypse?
Yeah, and he's going to facilitate that. I mean, he's great. He's awesome. Permaculture is one of the things I hope will be big in the future, mainstream, and other cool things we're going to do there. So, yep, that's the next 3 to 5 years. I'm going to be there a lot. Also started some, new things into the cryptocurrency, like all, everything that's might be part of the future. I'm looking into all possible futures.
You're into it.
I'm excited about.
How do you stay present and grounded with what you do? Because it could be all future.
Yeah, no, I mean, family, obviously, and friends. I have a lot of friends that are not in that field, and I think that's really important because many people I come across in my work, they seem to be in that bubble often. So it's really important that you get out. I mean, family and friends, across diverse people, I think that they ground me, and also like take me out of that bubble. You like realize like, shit, this is what people think. Yeah, this is how people see the future. And kids, best way to ground.
Oh yeah.
And also like on a physical level, go out in nature, and especially live near the beach, so go be in the ocean. That grounds me so much.
All year round.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about before.
Yeah, try to do it all year round. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So one of the last questions that I ask all my guests is, if you could take a little nugget of information and upload it into the collective consciousness, so everybody just got it, what would it be?
I think it's this thing we actually talked about, realizing that life is cyclical. It's like, it's not, you're not going to reach a state of happiness. So sometimes you will, if you're lucky, reach a state of bliss, but it's gonna, it's gonna come back in the sort of room of denial and conflict and confusion again. And then you come, it's we always talk about that life's up and down, it's a journey, it's a roller coaster, whatever. But I think we really have to understand that, because a lot of problems we see is like, people strive for that perfection and then they're gonna be there. It's a state. If we just see life as, it's a roller coaster. I think that, if we would learn that in school,
yeah,
and not see the career ladder or whatever, it's like, that's a linear thing, a ladder up or reach.
Hierarchy.
It's a spiral, it's an upward spiral. Yeah.
Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Bryn. It's been great.
If somebody wants to come and find you, how do they find you, other than hop into the warehouse on the other side?
Go to I have a website, adamjorlan.com, or enkel.co, enkel.co. That's collective. We're open to everyone who are interested in the future, creating a better WA.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bryn.
Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.